She's a wild surface girl, a fearsome Death Stalker conqueror, and she's not quite 100% trustful of all mutes. But beneath her rough exterior, Wolf is a true friend, and her character growth throughout the series is inspiring as hell. Unlike Kipo, Wolf didn't grow up feeling safe or comfortable while trying to survive on the surface, and she definitely needed some help relearning how to make friends. Despite some knowledge gaps about the kindness that lives within most mutes and humans in Las Vistas, Wolf is a total sweetheart and a fierce warrior. I'm Whitney Van Laningham, and today we're breaking down Wolf's symbolism and character. This is your spoiler warning! I'm talking major spoilers about character development and plot from seasons 1, 2, and 3. So if you're behind on Kipo, hit pause on this video and come back once you've found your anchor. Wolf's true origin story is unknown, but we can assume that her human parents were either killed on the surface or escaped to a burrow somewhere, never to be reunited with their daughter. I tend to believe the former because I don't think her biological family would have just completely bailed on her like that. Wolf is 10 and 11 years old during the series, and carries a Death Stalker tail at the end of a staff as a weapon. It's not outright stated which wolf she killed to get the pelt she wears to blend in with the rest of the mutes on the surface, but many believe it was the mother wolf that raised her. Fiercely independent, quick on her feet, and always serious, Wolf had to adopt a kill-or-be-killed attitude to survive on her own. When Wolf was a little girl, a pack of wolves led by a mother and father adopted her into their family. Wolf was expected to fight and train alongside the other wolf children, and after a year of not making any real progress, she finally befriended Margot, one of the pack leader's daughters. Margot helped Wolf grow stronger, sharper, and faster in their training. She also made her a friendship bracelet out of flowers to make her feel welcome, even though she was clearly the odd man out. Margot made her feel loved and accepted, and the two of them became like sisters. But after over a year of training and finally deeming Wolf worthy to join the pack, her parents betrayed her. They might look like bougie Connecticut suburban trash, but don't be fooled. They only trained Wolf to give themselves and their children a more challenging hunt. The pack turns on Wolf and begins to hunt her. Confused and hurt, she tells Margot that she thought that they were a pack. But Margot only shoots her down, telling her cruelly that she's a wolf and that Wolf is just a human. Her anger fuels her to run, and Wolf escapes. Wolf's story picks up again when she's 5 years old, living alone on the surface. After stealing a box of chocolates from the mod frogs, Wolf escapes them by fleeing into Death Stalker territory. These bad boys are like mega scorpions, and although one sting from their tails won't kill you, a bunch of them definitely will. A single sting from a Death Stalker is enough to knock you out, so it's lucky and remarkable that Wolf was even able to evade them. While running from one, she manages to climb an abandoned building's fire escape to safety. When she tries to throw her shoe to make noise and attract the Death Stalker's attention away from her, she realizes that they don't follow their prey by sound. Instead, they follow their prey by tracking their heartbeat. The faster your heartbeat, the easier it is for a Death Stalker to find and catch you. She manages to regulate her heartbeat, taking deep breaths to calm herself down. And it actually works. The Death Stalker retreats and she attacks it with a staff, which is how Stocky came to be. Wolf makes herself a home in the abandoned building. It seems like it used to be someone's old apartment. Inside are couches, toys, a karaoke machine, and more. But when she was young, they weren't toys. Her jump rope wasn't used for fun or exercise. It was a tool for stopping the hands of her enemies. Devil sticks weren't a cool party trick. They were ninja-grade fighting sticks. And the boombox and mic weren't for singing off-key with her friends. It was a hoot-hoot, a powerful tool used to scare lurking Death Stalkers away with her mighty call. Wolf wasn't afforded the luxury of a normal childhood, so even her teddy bear was more useful than comforting. Adorable as it is that Kipo had to teach her the real names and uses for these things, it's heartbreaking that Wolf had to grow up so fast just to stay alive. At some point, Wolf left the apartment to live elsewhere, likely because living in Death Stalker territory isn't the most stress-free life. Wolf roamed the surface on her own for years, becoming stronger and more adapted with experience. When she runs into Kipo, Wolf is hunting her dinner, a six-eyed, six-legged pig affectionately named Mandu. Kipo convinces her that Mandu is their friend, not a snack, and explains that she's lost and needs to find a way back to her people. At first, Wolf is like, "I work alone." But then Kipo immediately walks into two separate deadly scenarios back to back, and she realizes that she can't leave this burrow girl alone. Begrudgingly, she agrees to help Kipo survive long enough just to get her back to her burrow. She's incredibly surly in juxtaposition to Kipo's unending bubbliness, and clearly doesn't trust her, but Kipo is determined to be her friend. Wolf teaches Kipo valuable life lessons about the surface, like never pet a baby mega bunny, or their mom will come after you and eat you. or the yelling on the surface is basically like ringing the dinner bell for nearby mutes. When Dave and Benson join their trio, she's pretty prickly at first. She hates mutes like Dave, and she doesn't like to work with a team. The quicker she can get Kipo back to her dad, the sooner she can leave all of them behind and resume life as a lone wolf. When they find Kipo's old burrow, Wolf decides to leave. She promised to get Kipo there in one piece, and now that the job is done, she's out. But surprisingly, no one from Kipo's burrow remains at the accident site. She concludes that this must mean that they escaped to another burrow, and Wolf returns, claiming that her job isn't done until Kipo finds her dad. Wolf's trust for others slowly builds as Kipo proves to her time and again that friendship between mutes and humans is possible. Although she's initially convinced that the timber cats, the umlaut snakes, and the mega monkey are all gonna kill them, Kipo forms lasting alliances with all of them. And Wolf starts to realize that a lot of her preconceived ideas and stereotypes about mutes aren't true. Mutes aren't all mean and tribalistic. Some of them are actually pretty cool once you get to know them. Although Wolf's surface lessons have kept her alive for 11 years, her eyes are finally open to a new way of doing things. Desperate to find a clue from Kipo's father as to where the new burrow might be, the gang decides to visit the Newton wolves to borrow their giant telescope. Wolf says, absolutely not, no way, hell no. At this point, Kipo and Benson don't know anything about her traumatic past, so they press her to join them by convincing her that the telescope is the only way to move forward. In order to pass through the observatory unscathed, Wolf needs to train them to think and act like a pack. She's the only one who knows firsthand just how dangerous wolves really are, and she knows how to get past them unscathed. She teaches them to walk together, speak only when given permission by their alpha, listen to each other, and watch each other's back. Wolves single out their prey to target individuals, so working together is imperative for survival. The Newton wolves are huge nerds, so Wolf suggests that they impress them with Kipo's knowledge of the cosmos. But in order to cross into Newton wolf territory, Wolf has to ditch her fur hoodie and go by her real name. She tries to convince them that her birth name is Bone Ripper, but Kipo settles on naming her Jolene. I wonder if Wolf remembers the name her parents gave her at all, or if she grew up never knowing exactly what to call herself. We know that she doesn't know when her birthday is either, so it's possible. Regardless, I love the symbolism behind Kipo calling her by her chosen name and offering to share her birthday with her. This scene is proof that sometimes your chosen family loves and supports you more than your real one did. Unlike the wolves that raised Wolf, Kipo, Dave, Benson, and Mondu are supporting loving pack who will never leave her. Although Wolf's training helps the others convince the wolves that they're an actual pack, Kipo learns that the Newton wolves are working in cahoots with Starlemagne to hunt down the Burrow Girl and have her lead them to more humans. Unfortunately, when she returns to tell Wolf what happened, Wolf freaks out on her for breaking the pack rules. She told Kipo that they needed to stick together, and she just ran off and put all of their lives in danger. The Newton wolves hear her outburst and encircle the friends, threatening to hunt them for dessert. But Wolf has been training her entire life for this. She was able to outsmart and outfight her wolf parents and siblings, and she can do it again. As she's gotten older, she's only gotten stronger, faster, and savvier. This fight scene is so badass, because even though you don't really know the exact details of her past yet, it's clear that this fight has a deeper meaning for her. Although she trained with a pack that she thought had her back, she was betrayed and forced to spend the last half of a decade fighting for her life alone. But this time, Kipo and co really are supporting her. Remembering Wolf's lesson about moving together as a pack, Kipo and the others chase after her, showing up just in time to see her easily kicking Wolf butt. When the moon dips behind the clouds, Kipo's mega jaguar eyes adapt to the darkness for the first time, and she and Mondu are able to guide the others in battle. Wolf admits to her friends that she was in fact raised by wolves, but she refuses to discuss it further. Internally, however, I think that this is the moment when she really starts growing seeds of trust for Kipo. When her other pack would have abandoned her, Kipo showed up for her, fought for her, and helped her succeed. And that's why when she finds a clue that might lead them to Kipo's dad in their burrow, she hides it from her friends. She promised Kipo that she would take her back to her family, but afterwards, that's it. She's not going to hang around waiting to get burned by someone she loves again. And she's definitely not going to move into a burrow and face more potential rejection. But she also can't stand the thought of never seeing her new best friend again. In the short time that they've known each other, Kipo has shown her more empathy and compassion than she's ever experienced on the surface. She's never had true unconditional love before. She's also never had a birthday celebration before, and Kipo gives her her very first birthday present, a pink beret to keep her hair out of her eyes when she fights. When Mulholland infiltrates their brains and makes their wildest dreams a reality, Wolf's greatest dream is to spend her life hunting mega bunnies with Kipo. Although they're both super ripped and slaying megas, Wolf is subconsciously admitting to herself that she really does need friends. When she admits to Kipo in the dream that she kept her dad's letter from her, Dream Kipo rips it up, choosing to stay in the present with Wolf. But Wolf has already done some growing, and she realizes that this isn't real. The real-life Kipo wants to go back to her people, and also wants to stay best friends with Wolf. Until now, Wolf has thought of Kipo's friendship as having an expiration date, but after giving Kipo the map in real life, she's finally starting to come to terms with the fact that she can't get rid of her new best friend that easily. Kipo forgives her for lying, and recognizes that Wolf only did it out of fear of losing her. But Kipo almost loses Wolf when her secret is revealed. Wolf does not take finding out that Kipo is part mute very well at all. Despite everything she's learned from her new friends and mute acquaintances all over Las Vistas, she still can't get past her hatred for them. She views Kipo's omission about her new jaguar fur sprouting on her arm as yet another betrayal, and runs away, determined to return to living alone. Benson chases after her, and Wolf finally tells him the truth about her former pack. She's convinced that Kipo will only stab her in the back too, because how could mutes and humans ever get along? But when the Newton wolves show up to attack her, Kipo steps in and offers to sacrifice herself instead. Wolf has concrete proof that Kipo is on her team no matter what, and apologizes for running away. When they find Kipo's dad, she agrees to make the burrow her new home amongst their people. Her social skills are a little rusty, but it speaks volumes that she even entered the burrow, let alone is trying to adapt to their way of life. In a little over a week, Wolf has gone from putting her soul survival first before mutes and other humans to sobbing as she watched Kipo get carried away by Scarlemane's flamingos. Luckily, Kipo fights her way out of their grasp, but it's still really sweet that Wolf pledged to get her back at any cost. Concerned that Kipo will get trapped in her Mega Jaguar state, the friends set off to find the Chevre sisters for advice. Wolf doesn't trust them. I mean, who the hell consults Gouda for wisdom? She's convinced that they'll hurt Kipo, and even though she's more easygoing with Dave and Mandu, her confidence in mutes is still pretty low. The Chevre sisters coax out more of Kipo's inner jaguar and teach her to transform back and forth between human and Mega Mute. They also instruct her to go find an anchor, aka something to tether her to reality so that she won't get lost inside the Mega. Finding Kipo's anchor becomes Wolf's #1 priority, because she still can't stand the thought of losing her best friend. Even though she's warming up to Jaguar Kipo, she still wouldn't be able to handle it if her best friend got trapped inside. On their way to Kipo's parents' old science burrow, the quickest route happens to cross through Death Stalker territory. Kipo's whole thing is that she freaks out when she feels unsafe and morphs into a Mega. But Wolf knows that her racing heartbeat will attract Death Stalkers like flies to honey. Wolf can barely get Kipo to listen to her in other life-threatening situations, so she knows it's going to be a challenge to teach her to keep her chill. Thankfully, the two manage to take cover in Wolf's old apartment, where Kipo delights in finding out all of little Wolf's deadly uses for her toys. Frustrated with being unable to slow her heart rate enough to pass through unscathed, she insists on singing a karaoke duet with Wolf. Like I said earlier though, Wolf only used that mic to scare away Death Stalkers, so she's definitely never rocked out to karaoke. Honestly, she's a little peeved at Kipo. She never takes her seriously, and she somehow manages to wiggle away from danger by insisting on making friends with dangerous creatures. Wolf knows that the only way to survive is to do things alone and to make survival your #1 priority. So Kipo's karaoke jam just kind of annoys her at first. But slowly, Kipo convinces her to join in. And for the very first time, Wolf gets to use the toys in her old apartment like a normal kid. She sings the last couple lines along with her best friend, and afterwards, Kipo is more relaxed and able to focus. This surprises Wolf, because she never knew that just taking a break, relaxing, and having fun with your friends is possible on the surface. She spent over half her life hyper-vigilant against danger, convinced that if she lets her guard down for even 1 minute, she might die. That much anxiety is unhealthy, though, and I'm glad that Wolf got to experience a true moment of her childhood. That happy feeling doesn't last long, though, because a Death Stalker takes her out and Kipo has to save her. Like a true friend, Kipo had listened and learned from Wolf. She takes out the one Death Stalker entirely, and escapes additional ones with Wolf's unconscious body. This moment was so important for Wolf. Not only was she so proud of Kipo for slaying her first oversized scorpion, but she also felt Kipo's trust. After trusting Kipo in dangerous situations countless times, Kipo finally trusted her expertise, and it paid off for both of them. After escaping Fun Gus's sticky hot Cheeto web, Kipo finds her anchor, a photo of her and her parents when she was a baby. Benson puts it in his backpack, and the group swears to guard it with their lives so that Kipo can always return to her human form. The gang meets Dr. Amelia for the first time when she tries to shoot Jaguar Kipo with a crossbow. Wolf easily disarms her with Stocky, and as usual, is extremely wary about trusting her. After telling them that she was the leader of the human resistance and their mission is to overthrow Scarlemagne, the friends agree to go with her. But when Kipo gets captured by Scarlemagne, she discovers that Amelia is planning to turn everyone against mutes, and potentially kill her. Wolf struggles to keep her cool around Dr. Amelia, knowing that she's planning to murder her best friend, and threatens her with Stocky if anything should happen to her. Although they manage to explode the tunnel connecting the base to Scarlemagne's palace, trapping the other human resistance members inside, Dr. Amelia had already figured out their plan and is waiting to attack them. During the fight, Amelia shatters Stocky, and along with it, Wolf's heart. Stocky had been with her ever since she beat that first Death Stalker outside her apartment at 5 years old. It was her favorite way to intimidate her opponents, and she's destroyed that Stocky is gone. Mondu manages to grab the stinger and knock out Amelia so that they can escape. Stocky's last dying act was saving Wolf. Wolf leads the charge of coaxing the humans into a giant bowl so that Song could carry them away to safety, and instructs Mondu to lead them back to the base. Wolf has trouble fighting without Stocky, but she asks Dave for help for the very first time in her life, and he rescues her. Benson loses Kipo's anchor, and he and Wolf beg her not to transform. They try to fight Scarlemagne on their own, and Wolf even tosses his gilded crown into the molten gold river below his throne. Even though everyone is terrified that she'll get stuck, Kipo knows that every single mutant human in that Colosseum will die if she doesn't go Mega. She decides to morph, knowing that it might be the last time she ever sees Wolf, her father, or any of her friends. She manages to save everyone, but at the cost of losing her mind within the Jaguar. But even without the anchor, Wolf is determined to bring her best friend back. For the very first time in her life, Wolf gets vulnerable and tells Kipo in detail all of the ways in which she's changed her life for the better. She admits that she's learned that change, having fun, and accepting others for who they are is actually a good thing. Without Kipo, she might have spent the rest of her life fighting mutes and struggling to trust others. As a last Hail Mary, Wolf begins to sing Heroes on Fire to the Jaguar. Soon, everyone in the Colosseum joins in, and Kipo changes back into a human. Wolf, Dave, Benson, and Mondu realize that they are the anchors that will always bring Kipo back to them. For once, Wolf knows that she's truly loved by everyone around her, and that she's capable of loving them too. Amelia steals Song's binder full of mutagen formulas, and Kipo vows to get it back before she can turn all the mutes back into regular humans. In order to do this, she forms the Human-Mute Ultimate Friendship Alliance, aka Hamufa. Hamufa vows to unite humans and mutes together in harmony in order to stop Dr. Amelia. Wolf is on board, but wary of the alliance's success. But once she sees the Timbercats, Umlaut snakes, humming bombers, and Newton wolves getting along, she's more hopeful. She even has some faith in Scarlemagne. When Kipo worries that he'll never apologize to the other mutes for his actions, Wolf cheers her up by reminding her that if anyone can change his heart, it's her. Wolf also has a new weapon, a long rope with a hook at the end that comes in very handy for her climbing, fighting, and wrangling. And when her long-lost wolf sister Margot comes calling for a favor, it helps her attack and subdue her so that she can get answers. Margot explains that Dr. Amelia has kidnapped her brother, and that Wolf is the only one who can help her because of her Death Stalker expertise. Despite Margot's betrayal, she agrees to help her get Rupert back from Amelia. From Kipo, she's learned that she finds more happiness in helping others and being kind to them than in looking out solely for number one. On their way to find Amelia, Margot, Wolf, Benson, and Dave need to cross the Valley of Dogs. Together, Wolf and Margot single out the Corgi Alpha. Their combined howling tames the other dogs to become subservient and take over the Alpha role atop the Mega. But even though they totally kicked butt together, Wolf isn't ready to accept Margot's friendship. When Margot tells her how impressive it is that she used to live in Death Stalker territory, Wolf calls her out for abandoning her and trying to eat her. She tells Margot that she'll never understand what it felt like to find out that the people she thought were family wanted her dead, and she never cared whether she was lonely or scared on her own after she ran. Margot insists that she did care, but that her parents had scared her and forced her to attack Wolf. Wolf still tells her that that was a lame move, though. Unfortunately, Margot leads them into a trap, and Wolf, Benson, and Dave are kidnapped. Amelia ties them to a post and waits for Kipo to come rescue them, at which point she plans to inject Kipo with the mutagen that will turn her back into a human permanently. Luckily, they escape, but Yumyan is transformed into a regular kitty, never to return to his former axe-wielding glory. Despite this tragic loss, Leo manages to steal the mutagen that will turn Song back into a human. After Song is restored to her human form, she embraces Kipo and Leo. Kipo immediately calls Wolf over to join their family hug, including her in that group snug. Wolf finally has a human family that won't betray her or try to hurt her. Later, while Kipo bonds with her mom one-on-one, Wolf and Leo hang back and do the same to give them some space. After the Battle of Timbercat Village, where Amelia and Kipo's people successfully took away intelligent thought from many of the mutes in Hamufa, Kipo is determined to sink Amelia's boat. Knowing that it will hurt Kipo immeasurably to harm her own people, Wolf comes up with an idea to make her remember how much she loves her people. She, Benson, and Dave take Kipo to her old burrow and act out scenes from her childhood in hopes of convincing her not to attack. After listening to Dave and Benson's story about the fan war, Kipo realizes that Wolf is right, and that she can't hurt her people just because they hurt her. Instead, Kipo invites Amelia and the human resistance to prom, aka a party reconciling all humans and mutes. Her goal is to then get them to hang out and have fun together, so that they can see that everyone can truly coexist together on the surface. Although Amelia accepts the invitation and promises no dirty war tactics during the shindig, Wolf and Scarlemagne know that she has to be up to something. When they try to explain to Kipo why they need a backup defense system in case she violates the rules of prom and attacks, Kipo refuses to listen. She tells them that prom won't work unless everyone believes in its potential, so Wolf agrees to honor her wishes. She tries to stop Scarlemagne, but even without dousing her with pheromones, he still manages to convince her to let him go on his own. Wolf admits to Kipo that she let Scarlemagne go, and they get into an argument. Wolf ends up leaving despite Kipo asking her not to, and races off to find Scarlemagne. When she catches up to him, he basically asks her if she's ready to straight up murder Amelia with him to save Kipo, and she says yes. Damn, Wolf, that's ice cold. I knew you were a tough surface girl, but I thought spending time with Kipo had softened your kill or be killed mentality. Although Wolf has grown in a lot of ways, she still hasn't fully let go of her trust issues, especially in the case of known villains. Kipo's overly trusting attitude is going to get her and so many others hurt, and Wolf and Scarlemagne know that they need to stop that from happening. Together, the two unlikely allies take down Greta and force her to tell them where Amelia is hiding by tempting her with pancakes. Greta basically tells them that prom and Hamufa are BS, and that humans and mutes will never be friends. She points out that Wolf wears that wolf skin every day to blend in with the other mutes, because she distrusts them so much. Like Greta, she's spent most of her life believing that mutes would only hurt, betray, and kill her. But she's grown a lot since she first made her wolf cape, and she realizes that it might be time to let it go. She explains to Scarlemagne that humans and mutes will never trust each other unless they stop fighting out of fear and start working together, and that if they plan a counterattack for Amelia, the cycle of violence will never end. Back at Scarlemagne's palace, Wolf removes her cape and chooses a new one. Her new cape represents the growth and progress she's made since the day she met Kipo, and that she doesn't need to hide from mutes anymore. She shows up at prom in her new digs just in time to dance with Kipo to Heroes on Fire, and to let her know that they couldn't go through with their plan. Following suit, the rest of the mutes and humans agree to forgive one another and accept each other's differences. And although Dr. Amelia attacks them with mutagen cure-infused fireworks, every member of Hamufa worked together to protect the mutes from their fiery spray. Coming full circle from the first time she met Mandu and tried to turn him into a bacon sandwich, Wolf instinctively rushes to shield him from the fireworks with her cape. This show of growth is one of the sweetest moments in the entire series. Wolf went from a person who didn't trust any mutes and wanted to kill or eat all of them, to a girl protecting her best buddy, the baby Megapig. Despite the fact that no one was harmed by the poisoned embers, Amelia had another trick up her sleeve. She injects herself with Mega Walrus DNA and transforms to be able to fight Kipo. Kipo starts to go after her alone while the rest of Hamufa runs away. But Wolf refuses to let Kipo go alone. She hooks herself onto Kipo's back and pulls herself up for the ride. She tells Kipo to throw Amelia off balance to defeat her, and even tries to attack Amelia herself, but Amelia quickly flings her away. While Kipo continues to fight her, Wolf convinces Greta to hand over the antidote so that she can turn Amelia back into herself. They have a pretty sweet heart-to-heart mid-fist fight when Wolf tells Greta how much she helped her realize that she needed a new coat, and Greta hands over the crossbow. 5 years after defeating Amelia and losing Scarlemagne in battle, Wolf is 16 years old and still the alpha to the Mega Corgi and her 5 puppies. Of course, she's still best friends with Kipo, Benson, Dave, and Mandu. It's clear that future Wolf is comfortable and happy with her family and friends. and has adapted to a less stressful lifestyle with the new surface society. Second only to Scarlemagne, Wolf has the biggest transformation out of any character in the series. And she didn't even have to morph into a mega to do it. While the majority of Wolf's changes happen from within, her new cape symbolizes them outwardly. Although Kipo and Benson learned a little faster than Wolf that mutes aren't so bad, her girl flat out hated them in the beginning. And now look at her, teaming up with Scarlemagne, taming a wild giant corgi, being best friends with a mega jaguar and a semi-immortal insect. She's come so far! Although her distrust for mutes lessened as the series progressed, the intrinsic qualities that made her Wolf remained the same. Sometimes being fiercely independent isn't a bad thing, and although it was horrible that she was robbed of a childhood, Wolf is a fierce warrior with the ability to think on her feet and adapt to new situations. She's incredibly analytical. Wolf can assess the danger of a situation better than anyone else in the group, because she's had to play out the worst-case scenarios in real life over and over again to survive. Unlike Benson, who had Dave to help him not die, Wolf only had herself. That made her sharper, smarter, and more focused. She truly suffered in the process to learn those skills, and no one would wish the life she had before Kipo on anyone. But in her solitude, she found her own strength. She conquered a Death Stalker when the Burrow kids were barely starting kindergarten. Wolf is one of my favorite characters, but I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Like and subscribe to Nerdwire, and let me know which Kipo character you want to see on our next deep dive.